Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is John Campea, and this is an open Ask Me Anything with John. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Good to have you here. For those of you who don't know what this is just, a video where we can sit back and talk about anything you want to talk about. You want to talk about gear, equipment, technology, YouTubing in general, principles around YouTubing, podcasting. You want to ask some questions about movies and TV, go ahead and feel free to ask that. You want to ask about some behind the scenes stuff, whatever you guys want to talk about today, that is what we're here to do on Ask Me Anything. And it's good to see you guys here all joining me. Thank you already to some of you guys already in the live chat. Positional football, Diego, Cody, Dragon 10, Matt, so many of you guys already here. Thank you so much. And it's good to have you here. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm tired. I am very, very tired. Ann and I, we've had a whirlwind last couple of days where, Thursday we went out to Vegas and there were two reasons we went to Vegas and had a big annual project management conference was being held in Vegas. And obviously she is big into that stuff. So we went out for that. And Ann is currently a doctoral student at USC, and USC was in the Pac-12 championship. So we went to Allegiant Stadium to watch USC get their asses handed to them by the Utah Utes. That was a beatdown of a game. So we did that, had no sleep. Then we woke up at 5 Saturday morning, packed up, got in the car, drove back from Vegas, was home for about an hour, then got back in the car, drove out to Los Angeles, which is about an hour away, to go to LA Comic-Con. Went out to do that. I had a chance to meet Simu Liu, good Canadian kid, plays Shang-Chi, and of course in Kim's Convenience. And then we drove home, got home late last night, went to bed, and today we started getting the house back together. It's been a long couple of days. I'm very, very tired. But it is good to have you guys here joining me here today. And listen, before we go any further, we're going to make a big announcement about this on the John Campea Show, on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But since you guys are here, I'm going to tell you guys about this. And I want your help. I don't often ask for you guys to help us or do things like that, but I'm going to ask you for your help. You guys may remember that last year, well, first of all, Ann and I have been doing Adopt a Family every Christmas for the last 10 years. Adopt a Family is wonderful. Your local municipal government will probably have it set up. You go to the municipal government, they'll have an Adopt a Family program, and they will match you up with a family in need that just wants to give their family a good Christmas. And Ann and I have been doing that for about 10 years, and we love it. It's fantastic. So last year, we decided we were going to, because we've had a lot of our viewers over the years saying, let us help out with that because we want to get involved with that. So last year was the first time that we opened it up to you guys so you guys could help us out. And many of you guys were here. You guys saw the video that we made. It was an outrageous success. It was an absolutely outrageous success. The joy and the happiness that you guys brought to that family when life really sucked. Because, her husband had passed away. It was a single mom of 3 boys. Her husband was murdered. Her husband had been murdered. She was working, but her father passed away from COVID. Her sister passed away from COVID. She was working, but having a hard time making ends meet and all that kind of stuff. And, it was their Christmas without their father. And you guys came through. And we were able to give them the best Christmas of their lives. We were able to give them a day of really great joy. And it warms my heart every time that we have I go back and look at that video. It warms my heart every time. You guys know, the mom, she asked if she could be on camera and send a thank you message to you guys. And I'm in tears every time I see it. So thank you guys to everybody who participated in that last year. Well, it is that time of the year again. And we have a new Adopt a Family that the agency matched us up with. And again, they have no idea what's going on. But we are going to ask you guys to help us again give a family an amazing Christmas. and let them know that the world is filled with good people who want to do good things, and we are asking you guys to help us out. So I'm going to tell you a little story about this family first. And I know some of you right now are, John, we're here to talk about movie stuff, blah, blah. I know, but you're going to have to indulge me once a year as I want you guys to help us with this adopt a family thing, okay? Bear with me here. I promise it'll only be a couple of minutes, and we'll get into the questions. But we are asking this year, again, guys, if you could help us again. So if you look down into the description of the video, you will see a link to our Amazon wish list. Now, this is where we got from the family a list of all the things they need. And then we added a whole bunch of other things because we really want to go over and above. Okay? So if you look in the description right at the top, you'll see a link to the wish list. If you guys go in there and buy anything from the wish list, that will automatically get shipped to us. You guys, you saw the video last year. You know how we do it. And everything gets shipped to us. We wrap it. We do all that stuff. And then on a day, in a couple of weeks, we're going to deliver it all to the family. And they're going to be expecting some things. They're going to be expecting some socks and some soaps and some shirts and, things that the basic things that they need. But like last year, we want to go way over and above and just overwhelm them. We want to overwhelm them with the kindness of people. So there's a whole bunch of things. Now, one of the things you guys told me last year, you guys told me that I kind of cheaped out a little bit and you guys want to do more. Like we had like some $5 gift certificates and $10 gift certificates. And you guys were telling me afterwards saying, John, make it more. We can do more. So this year you'll see in the wish list that we're asking for 50 $25 Amazon gift cards. So last year we made them $10. You guys told us to make them bigger. So that's what we've done. So there are $25 gift cards. You can buy one or buy two or buy three or buy five, whatever. We're hoping we can get 50 of them. So that way, anything that we don't get them that they still need, they can use those Amazon gift cards to go get those things. You're going to see on this wish list, I think we're asking for $500 gift cards for the local grocery stores. So now, even I think the $100 gift card is a little high, but that was the only option Amazon gave us for those grocery stores. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to let you guys come through that. Maybe you and a couple of friends can get together, pool your money, get $100 grocery store gift card. We're asking for 5 of them in total. Maybe you guys can get one. Maybe you can get 2. Maybe whatever. You'll see on that list things like tablets. In today's informational world, I think kids need to have a connection to the internet, and we didn't pick iPads. We picked these really good Samsung tablets. I think they run about $100 or $135. I think kids need stuff like that these days, so I put those on the list. If you guys can get that, wonderful. There are also things like toothpaste and socks and some shoes and underwear and shirts and all that sorts of stuff. So I'm asking you guys to help us out and help us get this family just a remarkable, remarkable day. You guys, again, you changed the world for that family last year. And I want us to do this again. This is our Christmas miracle. So I'm gonna make a big deal out of this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But I thought since you guys are here now, I will let you guys know about it first. So maybe you can go in there and buy a couple of the little things. Maybe you can go in there and buy 1 or 2 of the big things. Maybe you and a couple of friends can get together and say pool some money and get one of the bigger items. I think we even went so far as to put like a Nintendo Switch in there. Like if you guys want to get these kids a Nintendo Switch, let's do that. Let's overwhelm this family. And then me and Ann, we're going to be kicking in something of our own that we'll let you guys know about a little bit later. But whatever you guys can do, let's do it. Okay. With that all said, guys, thank you for indulging me you guys know this is a big thing to me. The Adopt a Family thing that we do every year is a big thing to me. And what you guys, again, did last year, it was just fucking overwhelming. And let's do it again. Let's go bigger. Let's just, show not only this family, but the world that human kindness and generosity, especially at Christmas time, is a very real thing. And let's go do this. All right. I went on long enough with that. Now let's get down to the real reason you guys are here, which is not to hear me preach, but rather to get to your questions. So the super chats are open right now. I'm going to leave them open for a little while longer. If you've got any thoughts, opinions, and questions, go ahead and fire those in. So let's get into this right now, and we're going to get started here with Remmer Bulldog, who writes, "Hey, John, excited for Avatar. Are the first reactions coming out this week?" Yeah, I believe the first official reactions. Now, we've already got the first official reaction. That was from Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro's already seen the movie, and he got out and said the movie was absolutely epic and the work of a master at the height of his powers, all that kind of stuff. So now, again, Guillermo del Toro is friends with James Cameron, so maybe he was just being nice. I don't know. But the first reactions come out this week. Very excited to hear them. All right. Next up, we got Luke1234, who writes, tech question. Nice. Who makes your camera slider in the main studio? Did it come with those leg stands? And why such a big slider for an A6400? Thank you. Well, yeah, we have, for those of you who watch the John Campea Show, you know we have this wide shot where the camera moves, right? You can see the camera moving as you're doing it. I love those shots, and I think it makes for a really enjoyable watching experience. So the slider we have, and that's what the machine is called, that you put the camera on and then it moves and it turns the camera and slides the camera and all that kind of stuff. In the industry, we call it a slider. Our slider is made by a company called Echoldrone, and it's a very long one. I think it's 12 feet long is our Echoldrone. And when you're asking why such a big slider for a Sony A6400, it's because the size of the camera doesn't matter. What matters is the length of the slider. So I like to have a nice long slider. Like, we could have gotten a shorter slider so it goes back and forth like this, but I wanted a nice long slider that had a lot of movement on it. So yes, and no, the legs did not come with it. We had to buy the legs separately. The legs themselves were $600, which are the most expensive legs I've ever bought in my life, but it's what they cost. But yeah, the legs are $600. They were separate, but they're called Echoldrone. You can get cheaper legs. You can get shorter sliders, but I really like them. Rhino, a company called Rhino, also makes some really, really good sliders. Newer makes some decent little sliders. They're cheaper. I actually used to use Newer sliders, but they are cheaper. But yeah, that's the ones I use. All right, thanks for asking, man. Okay, next up, Chris Miner writes, bigger man's man, Ron Swanson or Rip Wheeler? Ron Swanson, of course, from Parks and Rec. Rip from Yellowstone. I gotta go Rip. I love me some Ron Swanson. I think you could write a handbook on how to live life as a man by Ron Swanson. But Rip is the bigger man's man. I think Rip is the bigger man's man. All right, Dad Jokes writes, 1 or 2. John, have you seen the video of Bozeman doing press for Infinity War where he is struggling to stay awake? Paul Bettany taps him on the arm to see if he's okay. No one around him knew the battle he was fighting, and were often critical of his look. I feel so bad looking back. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know, and I mean this honestly. I'm saying I don't know. I don't know that Chadwick, by the time they were just doing press for Infinity War, and I'm saying I don't know, I'm being literal, I don't know if he knew about his condition when Infinity War was coming out. I honestly don't know off the top of my head how long he knew about his health condition before that. And by the way, just because Chadwick had a health condition, that doesn't mean that that day he was having trouble staying awake because of his health condition. Like, there are a million other reasons, normal reasons, that he may have been having a hard time staying awake. Like, if you had had the last couple of days that I had had, and you were doing like some hour-long press conference, you might start dozing off too. So I'm going to have a feeling it probably had very little to do with his health issue. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, I don't know. But yeah, right now, I'm not sure how long he did know about that, but that's just kind of my case. It is so sad, though, when you look back at that whole situation at all, though. All right. Thanks for writing that in, Ann. That was Dad Jokes. Next up, we got Jared Vester, who writes, hope you had fun in Vegas. I did have fun in Vegas. It was a great time. Thank you. A few weeks ago, you said that you guys would be doing movie commentaries. Is there any updates, or did you change your mind? You know, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I ever said we would definitely, absolutely be doing movie commentaries. I think we will, but it's not a high priority for us right now. We have a lot of things going on with the show and with the studio and with the company behind the scenes. Like, I've got a lot of good stuff, but a lot of stuff going on. So I think we probably will. I don't have any updates for you on that right now. Like doing commentaries is a huge time commitment, and also it's an organizational nightmare. But we will probably do one or two, and it'll probably be in 2023. That's when it'll probably happen. All right. Next up, Samuel Thomas writes, I don't think that The Last of Us will be nearly as good as the game. It's pretty much perfect. Do you agree? No, I don't. Listen, the story in the game is fantastic, but it's still a game, right? It's still a game. It is still something that is first and foremost built around gameplay. The narrative isn't the priority, nor should it be. It shouldn't be the priority. The priority of that project should be excellent gameplay for the player. That's the number one priority. Now, it turns out they made a hell of a great story while they're doing it. But do I think it's near perfection? No, I don't think it's anywhere near that. I do think in terms of pure narrative and pure storytelling, the show will be infinitely better. In terms of that. Now, whether you or not you prefer watching a story or playing a game, that's a different thing. That's comparing apples to spaceships. It's a totally different thing. But yes, I do think that that the show will be better narratively than the game because that's their only priority. Their only priority in this show is making an excellent show, making an excellent narrative story. That's their one and only priority. So I actually think it's going to be better. Whether it is or not, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's my guess right now. All right, thanks for that, Samuel. Next up, we got Jared Vester, who writes, hypothetically, if The Last of Us and Mario are great, would that put an end to the curse of the bad video game adaptations? Or does Last of Us not count since it's a series? Curious on your thoughts and game adaptations. Well, it's getting better. I mean, for example, we just had Arcane. And Arcane is based on League of Legends, and it is my all-time favorite animated show. Number one all-time favorite animated show. I think it is the best animated show of all time. So that's good. Now, that show is very loosely based on League of Legends. I mean, it's the characters, but it's all original story. But still, it is, technically speaking, it is a video game adaptation, even though it is very, very loosely based on the game. That all being said, we've had a good few things lately, right? Castlevania's pretty good. I don't think it's as great as some people think it is, but it's pretty good. Arcane, this Last of Us thing looks like it could be great. We've been seeing some good things. You're right, though. I'm not going to declare the curse over until we see movies done well. So I'll tell you what, though, this Mario movie looks pretty damn good. I think the Marvel movie looks really good, so we'll see. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Jared. Appreciate that very much. All right. Cameron W. writes, hey, John, just a fun fact. The S in Frasier is pronounced like laser. This is from Brendan himself. Frasier is pronounced differently. Cheers. Aren't they both pronounced the same? Like the TV show Frasier has the S, but it's pronounced Frasier. I mean, how... Frasser, I guess would be the other way. I don't know. I just thought I thought it was all pronounced the same way. Frasier, whether it's with an S or a Z. And I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, thanks for that, Cameron. Next up, Bill Yobfas writes, hi, John. Been watching your show since your Wally review. That's going back a ways. Thanks for that, man. Thanks so much for all these years. I don't agree with everything you say, but appreciate your honest opinions. Thanks for being awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Bill. And listen, you guys know what I'm going to say here. I don't want you to agree with everything I say. I mean, that's the problem with some YouTube channels. They want to say things that their audience agrees with. That is not I don't care about that. That is not my concern. I often say this. My job is not to say what you agree with. It is also not my job to get you to agree with what I think. Too many YouTubers think their job is to say things their audience agrees with or to make their audience agree with them. I don't. I really don't care. So my job is not to say things you agree with, and my job is not to get you to agree with me. Here's what my job is. My job is to give you my honest opinion, and to give my opinion in such a way, giving information and context, that to give my opinion in such a way that it helps you have a wider understanding of why you agree with me, or a wider and better understanding about why you disagree with me. If you walk away from one of my shows going, okay, now I really understand. Okay, I understand Campea's position more, but now I'm even firmer in my disagreement with him, then that's great. Then I've done my job. Or if you walk away from the video and go, wow, now I even more agree with them, well, then great. That's me doing my job too. You know, that's the whole thing. It's not about us all coming to agreement. It's about us all having a better understanding of the opinions we agree with and a better understanding of the opinions that we don't agree with. And if my show can do that, then that's a check mark. That's a win. Then I consider me doing my job. So I love the fact that you watch our videos and you don't agree with me all the time. We're not supposed to agree. That's the beautiful thing about the art, man. All right, thanks for sharing your opinions, and thank you for being around and watching since the Wall-E days. All right, next up, FangBlaze71 writes, I've rewatched the Guardians 3 trailer more times than I care to admit. I am so extremely hyped for this movie. The music in the trailer is amazing too. Yeah, I thought the trailer was great. Now, let me qualify that. I thought the trailer was great as a first trailer. You know, the first trailer, you're not supposed to give much away. You're just supposed to kind of give a basic idea about, hey guys, here's the movie, and give a little bit of a flavor for it. It's really announcing to the world the movie's coming. It's not supposed to tell you a lot. And I'm good with that. And as a first trailer, I thought the first trailer was fantastic. Now, at some point, we're going to get a second trailer, and that's where they're going to start letting us know what the story of the movie is. And once they do, then we'll really be cooking. But you're right. For a first trailer, I thought it was really, really well done. All right, FangBlaze71 also writes, what death in a movie hit you the hardest? I don't know. Honestly, I think character deaths in TV shows hit me harder because we spend more time with those characters. Like, yeah, of course, when Bambi's mom dies. Well, of course, yes. When Nicole Kidman's Satine, when Satine dies in Moulin Rouge, that's a huge emotional moment. But and those are big, but it's TV show characters. Like when Opie dies in Sons of Anarchy. I'd been hanging out with him an hour a week for 3 or 4 years. I can't remember which season Opie dies in. So when Opie dies, it's like I had probably spent like 50 hours with Opie. Whereas in a movie, it's a little bit different. So I say TV shows deaths hit me harder than the ones in the movies do. Good question, FangBlaze. All right. Miguel Zian writes, hey, John, hope you're having a great weekend. I am having a great weekend. Thank you, Miguel. Greetings from the 6. Question, regarding Deadpool 3. If you could only choose one, would you rather have Channing's Gambit show up or Bishop show up and fight Cable? Thanks, Bishop. I mean, listen, I would love to see Channing Tatum get a chance to play Gambit. I really would. But I have been wanting a Bishop or a legitimate big role for the character of Bishop for 10 years now. I've been asking for that. So I think if I got the choice and I got to pick one or the other, I'd love to see Channing Tatum play Gambit. I would. But Gambit. Give me Gambit or Bishop. Give me Bishop all day. I've been wanting that for years and years and years and years. All right, Miguel, thanks a lot for asking, man. I appreciate that. Okay, next up. Sam Fisher writes, Del Toro did a TV interview this morning, and in the voiceover, the reporter said his Pinocchio wasn't just likely for Best Animated Feature, but also Best Picture. Yeah, but who cares what some random reporter says? I mean, that's great. That's great, but that's one random reporter giving their opinion on something. That's great. I'm sure we're going to find somebody out there who thought Joe Dirt should have been nominated for Best Picture too. So I'm not going to get too excited or worked up over what one person says. Now, if that person was, I don't know, George Lucas saw Pinocchio and said, I think this should be nominated for Best Picture. Well, then I would take that a little better, but some random news interviewer, I'm not going to give that too much weight. That doesn't mean it can't be nominated for Best Picture. And that's not to say that I might not agree with them once I see it myself. But for right now, it's one random person that we've never heard of giving an opinion on a movie. But I am looking forward to it. All right, Devin Roulette just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Devin. Appreciate that, man. Mickey Veach writes, I know there are 1,000,001 rumors surrounding 007, but I just wanted to check if there was any credibility to Aaron Taylor Johnson being the frontrunner. Zero credibility to that. Now, that is not to say that Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is a great actor, he's the right age, all that kind of stuff, nothing says that he can't end up being James Bond. That's not what I'm saying. But the Broccoli's, the people in charge of the James Bond character in the James Bond movies, just a little while ago, they were very, very explicit in saying we haven't even started looking for a new James Bond, right? They were very, very clear about that. They, because a reporter asked them a question about, we're hearing all these rumors about this person and that actor and this actor and that actor, who's running. And the Broccoli said, listen, we haven't even started the process yet. So if they haven't even started the process, then anybody reporting that Aaron Taylor Johnson is the front runner, there's no credibility to that. Because again, the Broccoli's already made it clear that they haven't even begun that process yet. So again, and it's not like Barbara Broccoli, the person in charge of James Bond, called me up personally on the phone and said, John, just so you know, there's nothing to this. I'm just saying that they already made a pretty big public statement just weeks ago saying that we haven't even begun the process yet. So no, I don't believe there's any credibility to that right now. Again, but that's not to say that Aaron Taylor Johnson can't be in the running for it. I personally think Aaron Taylor Johnson would make a really good Bond, but I don't think there's any credibility to this right now. All right. Next up, Murray Reich writes, whatever happened to the Home Alone, let's try this again. Whatever happened to the Home Alone-like movie starring Ryan Reynolds? Is it happening? I have no idea. I'll be honest with you, Murray. I have no idea what we're talking about. I have no recollection of what that is. So I would probably say it's never been a thing. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what we're talking about off the top of my head. So my only guess is that it was never actually a real thing. Maybe somebody reported something like that, but it turned out not to be true. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. Sorry about that, Murray. I wish I had more information for you. Unfortunately, I don't right now. All right. D-Train writes, Last of Us spoilers. Do you think they'll follow the game exactly? Will they kill off Pedro Pascal's character early like they did in the second game? I hope so. I hope they do. Because I'll tell you what, that character's death in the second game was so emotionally resonant, and the fact that it was so important to the narrative of the story. See, that's the key thing. Remember, stories are not there to serve characters. Characters are there to serve stories. And I thought the death of that character was profoundly interconnected with the brilliance of the narrative and the overall message of the game. It had to happen. So listen, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt if they don't do this. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt if they don't and just trust that they've come up with something great. But my first reaction is I hope they stick to that because it was just so important to the story. But we'll see. We'll see how it gogoes. All right. Fangblaze71 writes, see the trailer for Gen Z? No, I have seen nothing over the last couple of days. Again, I've been running back and forth from here to Vegas, back here to Los Angeles, back here. So I haven't seen that. I don't even know what it is off the top of my head, unfortunately, Fangblaze. All right. The filmmaker and fandom writes, it's obviously not happening this year with Avatar 2, but remember Cameron talking about the films being in 3D without glasses? Which Avatar film could we see that technology be shown to the public? It's not a real thing yet. That's the problem. That whole thing, like I have said for a long time, because I hate 3D. I hate 3D. It's a stupid, useless gimmick. Doesn't make movies any better, in my opinion. Because, filmmakers and cinematographers and these designers, they create these big, rich, vivid, glorious, colorful images. And the first thing we do when we walk in the movie theater is we slap tinted film over our eyes. And I've heard the same excuse being made over, John, you don't understand. They adjust the brightness for it. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's simply, movies never look as good when you got film put over your eyes. Just doesn't. Now, even I have said that if they can get to the point where they can have 3D without the need for us to wear glasses, that could be revolutionary, because then you're literally just watching something without having to artificially do something with some kind of film over your eyes. And James Cameron echoed those same sentiments, but it's not a real thing yet. Like, it doesn't really exist yet. So, and I don't know if it's ever going to be really possible. I think they have some hypothetical theories that they think could work. Like, for instance, actually, I just looked down. I was about to bring this up. Somebody just mentioned the 3DS, right? So now that comes with the problem. The thing is, the 3DS, that is built into the display itself, right? But how do you do that on a pre-existing movie screen that you just project onto? And that doesn't exist. You're right? They've got the 3DS and stuff like that. It's like you've got your hardware, but it's all built into the hardware itself, as opposed to just being able to project on the same screen that everything else projects onto. How are they going to do it? I don't know, but I believe the technology will come. But I don't know. I don't know that they're all that close to it. I don't know if we'll have it by the time the Avatar films are done. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but technology moves fast. But right now, I'm not hearing anything suggesting that's anywhere close to being ready for actually being used in public. But we'll see. All right, good question, man. Next up, Anna Kendrick Lamar writes, if made today, which movie do you think would be more successful, Mystery Men or Sky High? I feel like both were ahead of their time. They were both ahead of their time, but I'm going to say Mystery Men. Because to me, Sky High was a fine little film, but listen, I mean, with what was the name of the main character? Rampart? Was that the name of the main character? Anyway, I like Sky High. I like the movie, but it was nothing. There was nothing particularly special about it to me. But Mystery Men was a movie that was so far ahead of its time. It was spoofing and lampooning a genre that hadn't even become a real thing yet. And I think Mystery Men is one of my top 20 probably favorite movies of all time. The brilliance of it went over a lot of people's heads, I think, initially. But yeah, to me, if released today, Mystery Men does far better. Mystery Men does far, far better. That movie is just brilliant, beyond words. I love that movie so much. All right, next up. Sven86 writes, have you seen any of the Terrifier movies? Nope, no interest in them. I mean, I like a decent horror movie's fine, but nah, haven't seen them. Don't really have any interest in it myself. My assistant Taylor has, though, and he really likes them. All right, Sven's86 also writes, thoughts on Last of Us trailer. Looks absolutely amazing. Planning on doing an after show when it airs in January. I have not seen, apparently a new Last of Us trailer dropped this weekend. I was in Vegas, going to football games, and then going to Los Angeles Comic-Con, and I haven't had a chance to see any of it. It's supposed to be the weekend. I'm not supposed to be working. So I have not seen it, but I know I love the first trailer. I know I love this story. So I cannot wait. We'll probably talk about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow. And yes, when Last of Us comes out, we will be doing a weekly after show for it. Unless we watch the first episode or two and I hate it, then we won't do it. But I'm anticipating we're going to like it. And so yes, the plan is for us to do an after show, a weekly after show for Last of Us. That is coming. All right. Thanks a lot, man. Next up, Al Renshaw writes, I saw Violent Night and want two things. One, sequel to introduce Rudolph / Mrs. Claus. Two, David Harbour as Thor in God of War series coming from Amazon. He has the physique, beard, and now wields a hammer. I have been dying to watch Violent Night. Dying to see it. So we have not had a chance again because this week was totally booked for us. We were in and out of town. Haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm going to go see it tomorrow night. Hell, it depends on how fast I can do my show notes, but there's a chance I might grab Ann and we actually run out to go see it tonight because I've been very excited for this movie. So haven't seen it yet, Al, but I am very, very excited about it. Again, I might run out to go see it tonight. We'll see. If not tonight, then I'll definitely see it tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. We'll see which one it goes with. But thanks for that, Al. Appreciate that, man. All right. My Comic Planet writes, John, what movies or shows did you watch this weekend? None. I've been none. None movies or shows. Been in Vegas, going to football games, doing a conference, been on the road for a lot of hours because we drove to Vegas and back, then drove to LA and back. So none. The answer is none TV shows or movies this week. Let's see. Cody Carroll writes, do you think the cheeseburger was tainted after they explained the meat process in detail at the beginning of the menu, said it would be fatal? No. And unfortunately, I can't give it away. I want to talk about this, so I'm going to. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to hold up this coaster, okay? I'm going to hold up this drink coaster. And as long as I'm holding up this drink coaster, I'm going to be talking about a spoiler for the movie The Menu, okay? When I put the coaster down, that means I'm done talking about the spoiler for The Menu, okay? I shouldn't even do this right now, but I mean, I've been dying to talk about this. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Starting now. Here's why the ending of The Menu is so wonderful and why that burger is so key. It's the ending of Ratatouille. The ending of The Menu is essentially the ending of Ratatouille. Because in Ratatouille, they make Ratatouille for... what's the name of the food critic? Anton Ego? Anyway, they make Ratatouille for Ego. And as he eats it, he is brought back, and this is what food can do. He is brought back to that time of innocence and happy times with his family, and it gave him nostalgia and filled him with joy, right? Well, in The Menu, she's going through his thing, and the only picture she sees with Chef smiling and looking legitimately happy was when he was working at the burger place. That is the only time and only picture that she saw when she got into his private quarters of him, of Chef, looking legitimately happy. Like he actually had joy. So she decides to use that to remind him of his humanity, and she straight up says, "Give me a cheeseburger." And I think that as he went back in there and he made that cheeseburger, it did something to him. And so that's one of the reasons. Like I like The Menu overall anyway, but that ending to me, it just took it over the top. Like I loved that ending. And again, to me, it was very, very much Ratatouille. And damn, that burger looked good. Like when I walked out, I wanted a burger. Okay, the coasters are down. Sorry about that. Let's now continue on, shall we? Okay, next up. Let's see. Culture Wars Diplomacy writes, what's a movie that you thought broke itself by pushing its theme too hard? None. No movie gets made or broken by pushing its theme hard or too hard. It's all in the narrative. You can push a theme super, super, super hard. As long as you build the narrative around it to a place that it flows with the narrative, it's great. So I think the answer to that is no movie's ever done that to me. They're either good movies or bad movies. I mean, just that. That's my opinion of it, at least, at any rate. All right. Next up, we got My Comic Planet who writes, could Indy 5 be Kathleen Kennedy's swan song as she soon exits? Yes. I've already told you. She's already out. The decision's already been made. She knows the decision's been made. They are just not publicly letting people know about it yet. I do not know whether they're going to announce her departure prior to Indy 5 coming out or shortly thereafter. I mean, that's what I was told, that they just weren't sure that whether or not it was going to be before Indy 5 or soon after Indy 5. It might be soon after Indy 5 because you want all positive publicity. You don't want negative controversies going into a movie. So they may wait till afterwards. But it is my understanding from my own sources that it's done. The decision's been made. She's out. And she will remain in the job until such time that they make the announcement. But it's going to be very, very, very soon. Whether soon as before Indy 5 or very shortly after Indy 5, I don't know, but we're not, but at the end of 2023 is not, Christmas 2023 is not going to come around where Kathleen Kennedy is still the president of Lucasfilm. And again, anything can happen, but that is my understanding. So we'll see. But yeah, it looks like Indy 5 could be her swan song, and hopefully it's a great one. I hope it's as good as that trailer looks. I thought the trailer looked amazing. All right, next up, we've got Al Renshaw, who writes, with the Blue Beater poster released, do you think trailer is imminent? Studio has a lot of faith in this movie, and I'm very excited. Generally speaking, again, it's not a rule. It doesn't happen every time. But generally speaking, once an official image or an official poster normally comes out, the first trailer is normally, not always, but normally not far behind. Normally, and again, this is just not a rule, just normally, the movie is not far behind, or the trailer is not far behind it. I mean, that's why, when we got the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 poster had come out, I said on my last show before I went away to Vegas, I said, I believe we are going to see a Guardians trailer this weekend. I said, put it this way, I will be surprised if we don't get a trailer this weekend. And sure enough, the trailer came. Now, that's not because I'm smart, but because we knew, like when a poster comes, usually a trailer is close to follow. So my guess is we will get a trailer this weekend. This week. That's my guess. I'm not as certain about that as I was about Guardians because we're still a ways out from Blue Beetle, but I'm going to guess we're going to get a trailer this week. Well, we'll find out though. We'll find out. And I'm very excited for that movie because yes, the studio seems to be very, very big on this film. So let's see how that turns out. Okay. Next up, we've got Praddy Iyer, who writes, John, you said you were leaving Twitter because Elon Musk took over. No, that's not exactly what I said. I'll tell you exactly what I said in a minute here. And you rarely used it, true. But you've been more active on Twitter since Elon took over than before. Elon always wins in business, huh? No, he really doesn't. Elon has lost a lot of money. Listen, in general, I am an Elon Musk fan. I know that rubs some people the wrong way. But Elon Musk has kind of done for technology what George Lucas did for movie technology. Like George Lucas forced movie technology forward, right? And I've always really liked Elon Musk. I mean, it's always been a few screws loose, no doubt. Absolutely. But what Elon Musk has done is he has been one of the most vocal proponents for climate change. Like in a world filled with climate change deniers, like Elon Musk has been one of the prominent voices about climate change, the need for us to transition to renewable energy, things that a lot of people have been against. But he's been at the forefront pushing this idea that we need to move to a renewable energy kind of system, pushing the electric car revolution, the whole thing about now you can get Tesla batteries on your house with solar panels and all that kind of stuff. I own 2 Teslas. I love my Teslas. I love them. You can't see them on camera right now, but right now the batteries, you guys will remember that over a year ago, I put in I did my own little hack and slash spit and paste version of a solar system where I just threw some solar panels up on my patio cover and got some batteries. And we used to run, when the John Campea studio was in here, we used to run the entire studio strictly off of solar power. The solar panels I have, I run them into the window here and they charge up these big batteries I have. And then we would plug everything into the studio, into those batteries, and we'd run the studio off that. Well, since we don't have the studio in here anymore, I now use those solar batteries exclusively to charge my car. So every night, the daytime happens and the batteries are charging from solar during the day. Then at night, I plug my car via a very long extension cable into these batteries, and the batteries charge my car overnight. And it's great. And all that is thanks to Elon Musk. Now, just because Elon Musk is great at that stuff, I don't believe he knows one lick of fuck about running a social network at all. And yeah, that really concerned me. Now, the reality was I hadn't used Twitter. I had used Twitter like twice in 2 months. So I really wasn't using it much anyway. Mostly because Twitter is just kind of a toxic cesspool. So I really wasn't using it much anyway. So I said, now that Elon's taking that over, and just because he makes great cars and is great on the environment stuff and great on pushing renewable energy and all that kind of good stuff, I don't think a guy like that who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing when it comes to social media should do that. And listen, Twitter's been kind of a fucking disaster. All you have to do is go on YouTube and look for like all the major mistakes that he's made with Twitter already and stuff like that. But, once in a while I just feel like, I'll post, but it's all been nothing stuff. Like if I bring up my Twitter, how many times have I put out? I'm much more active on Instagram and stuff like that. But if I go to my Twitter account, I have put out, well, the last Twitter post I put up was 5 days ago. I have put up 3 Twitter posts in, 2 weeks. And it's really just been a funny joke and stuff like that. So I'm really I'm really more onto Instagram now. The value of Twitter has dropped a lot, clearly. A lot of the tech YouTubers are declaring Twitter a total disaster right now. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I've definitely, like, there used to be a time I would put out 3, 4, 5 tweets a day. For those of you who followed me, I've got like over 100,000 followers on Twitter. And I used to put out 3, some of you who might follow me on there, I used to put out like 3 or 4 tweets a day. Like I used to be very, very active on Twitter. But now, like I said, the last one I put out was 5 days ago was the last tweet I put out. And it was just saying, hey, I'm in this restaurant. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah, this was like 5 days ago. All I did was like, we went to the Jonas Brothers own a restaurant in Vegas, and Anne's a big Jonas Brothers fan. And we went to it, and I actually ended up really loving the food. The food was legit great. Like I was really surprised. So I made a post about, hey, there's this restaurant in Vegas called Nellie's Southern Kitchen. And it happens to be owned by the Jonas Brothers, but it's legit good. It's in the MGM Grand, by the way. My favorite restaurant in Vegas has been Gordon Ramsay's Steak, which is in the Paris Hotel. I actually legitimately think Nellie's might be my favorite restaurant in Vegas now. It's like super, super good. So yeah, I'm trying not to abandon Twitter in its entirety, but and it does look like Elon is running it into the ground, but I'm far more active on other social platforms now, but I'll probably still maybe once a week, I'll probably put up nothing like, hey, I ate in this great restaurant or something. But yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Twitter's being run into the ground. But I still love Elon Musk. I still have a lot of respect for Elon Musk. A lot of the other stuff he does when he's more in his wheelhouse, I respect a lot. But anyway, that's just me. All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got My Comic Planet writes, I saw a pic of CCXP22 floor and the crowds were incredible. Looked bigger than even SDCC. It's not bigger than San Diego Comic-Con, but it was incredible. I saw some of those pictures too. What is it about this con that makes it such a magnet for studios? I don't know. I think it's a chicken and the egg thing. I think it's a chicken and the egg thing. Where studios start doing more stuff there. So other studios want to do more stuff there. And the more attention that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, because it wasn't that long ago that nobody cared about Comic-Con experience in Brazil. But it's become this, I think it's even surpassed New York Comic-Con. I think now it's solidly and legitimately the number 2 con behind San Diego. I think it's legitimately the number 2 con right now. And I said I wanted to go this year, but we just didn't have time. I think next year we may legitimately try to go to this thing. I think next year we're going to make a trip out of it. Like, I initially was going to take the whole crew and we were going to go to London for Star Wars Celebrations, but fuck Disney. I'm never going to another one of their fucking disastrous messes of their conventions again. Fuck them. I really hate Disney right now, even though there's a lot of their content that I really quite like. But honestly, fuck Disney. So I'm not going to that. No way I'm ever going to that. But Brazil, I That we may do next year. Now, our next big trip as a crew is back to Las Vegas in April. So just about 4 months away, 4.5 months away. We're going to be going and covering CinemaCon again, because last year we had a blast doing CinemaCon. So we're going to go to Vegas again this year. We're going to cover CinemaCon again. You guys clearly love the videos we made from CinemaCon. It is the best thing. So there's that, but we might do Brazil next year too. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up, we've got CJ Rebirth, who writes, Violent Night is an R-rated mix of Deadpool, Elf, and Home Alone. David Harbour was great as Santa, and John Leguizamo was a great antagonist. Listen, I've been excited for this thing. When I first heard about the movie, I thought, haven't we already seen 5 or 6 movies where Santa's actually bad or is a badass or whatever, right? Haven't we seen that movie already? But then I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, this looks like a lot of fun. And I love David Harbour, so I'm going to go either see it tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to go see it. Thanks for giving us your quick review on that, CJ. Appreciate that, man. You're always coming through. All right. Next up, we got My Comic Planet, who writes, Ben Affleck said about Netflix's strategy, how are you going to make 50 great movies? There's no committee big enough. It's an impossible job. Oh, he's 100% right. Like literally last year, Netflix put out 100 original movies. Wrap your head around that. 100. How many of them were good? 5%? 6%? 7%? Netflix's strategy. See, Apple and Netflix have two completely opposite strategies, right? Apple doesn't put out a lot, but what they put out, they want to make sure it's top quality. And the only thing Apple TV has put out that I didn't really like was probably Jason Momoa, and I'm a big Jason Momoa fan, but I didn't like his show C. I didn't like that show. But everything else they put out is like super top quality. HBO Max is kind of in the middle. They go for a little bit of quantity, but put a big emphasis on quality, whereas Netflix's strategy is like, let's just put out thousands of things, and some of them will be great. A couple of things will be great, and then we'll have 90% garbage, especially when it comes to their movies. So I honestly, I think Ben Affleck is 100% right, as I often think Ben Affleck is 100% right, because I'm a big Ben Affleck fan. All right, next up. Culture Wars Diplomacy writes, being socially awkward, I identified with Wednesday more than most. Who is a character you identified with? Oh, that's a good question. By the way, I can't wait to watch Wednesday. Obviously, I didn't watch anything over the last 5 days because of all the traveling we've been doing. Anne is now 4 episodes into Wednesday, and she's loving it. What character do I really identify with? You know, I've always said this. Boromir in Lord of the Rings has always been my favorite character in fiction. In all of fiction, not just fantasy, but in all of fiction. And it's because of the redemption arc of Boromir. I think maybe I identify most with Boromir. I think somebody with responsibility, somebody with great intentions, but can sometimes get swept up in making the wrong decisions and the wrong choices. And hopefully at the end, in the end of things, tries to make the wrong decisions and wrong things right, you know? And so I think that's why, for me, maybe that's why that character is, I've always identified. I think he's been one of my favorite because he's probably the one I identify with. I like to say Luke Skywalker or whatever, but no, I think the one I identify with is the one who makes mistakes. I think that's Boromir, but that's just me. Anyway, thanks for that, Culture Wars. Appreciate that. Next up, Neil Before Zimmer writes, why is Warner Brothers so certain about, I don't know what BA2 is a good idea, despite the first being a box office bomb, a badly written storyline for future films, and the ease which they could flashpoint it away? Why is BA different than Batgirl? I'm sorry, I don't know what we're talking about. You guys please do not write in and speak in acronyms, because I have no idea what BA2 is. I have no idea what BA2 is. Oh, I see. Okay, some people in the live chat are saying Black Adam. Guys, please do not write in acronyms, because now I got to guess what it is you're talking about. Okay. Why is Warner Brothers so certain that Black Adam 2 is a good idea? I think mainly because the audiences like the first film. I mean, and that's the bottom line. Audiences like the first film. Let me just let me go to the Rotten Tomatoes for a second. I like the film. You know, I mean, listen, it's got a lot of problems. It really does. But I think for the most people had a good time with it. Listen, I could tell you a dozen things that are wrong with Black Adam, and there are. But I had fun. I had fun watching that movie. And to me, movies are experiential events. And it's got an 89% audience score. Okay? It's got an 89% audience score. The reason Warner Brothers feels confident moving forward with the Black Adam is because audiences liked it. And if audiences liked it, they will come back for another one. And I have said before that while there's no denying Black Adam is going to be a money loser, and it is, I also 100% believe that if they make a sequel, it will make more money than the first one did because people had a good time. Not everybody. No film does. All film is subjective. There are going to be people who like it, people who don't like it, but it's clear that the vast majority of people who saw Black Adam had a good time. It's one of these situations, let me bring this up here. It's one of these situations where I totally get why there is such a discrepancy between the Black Adam critical score and the Black Adam audience score. I think both are right. Because there is a lot wrong with Black Adam, okay? There is a lot wrong with it. There's no getting around that. You can be in denial if you want, but there is a lot wrong with this movie. So I totally get the low critic score. It deserved that low, where is it right there? That low critic score, it deserved it. But despite the fact that it does so many things wrong as a movie, I also get this high audience score because, yeah, it had crappy dialogue. Yeah, a lot of the narrative stuff they did made no logical sense whatsoever. It's like, wait a minute. So you locked Black Adam, the Wizards locked Black Adam in this prison, and literally on the door of the prison you say, oh, hey, you want to let this guy out? Just say this word Shazam and it'll let him out. Really? That's what the Wizards did? That was their big security plan? Oh, this guy is just too dangerous from the world. Let's put him in a prison. Great, and we'll make sure that the door can never be opened. Nah, let's make it so the door can be opened. Okay, but we'll make sure nobody ever knows how to open the door. You know what? Nah, let's actually put instructions on the door of how to open up the door and let him out. But anybody could stumble across it and just read what's written on the door. Yeah, let's do that. That's a great plan. Like, again, some of the stuff in there is just pure idiocy. Some of the stuff in Black Adam is just pure idiocy. But I had fun. There was enough fun in the movie that overcame it. Why? You don't have to be one or the other. You can do both. You can write a good movie and be fun at the same time. And I hope they do that next time. But yeah, if you're asking the question, why does Warner Brothers feel confident doing another Black Adam? It's because audiences liked it. And if audiences liked it, they will come back for another one. So yeah, that's why they feel good about that, Neil. By the way, Neil before Zimmer sent in as like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Neil, for sending that in and being so supportive, man. I appreciate that very much. And why, when you ask why is that any different from Batgirl? Oh my God, you never saw Batgirl. You don't know how bad Batgirl was. I never saw it either, but I've been told by people who I know have seen it that it was a bloody train wreck of a movie. Black Adam was able to please audiences. From everything I understand, Batgirl was not going to please audiences. So massive, massive difference, Neil before Zimmer. All right, next up. Jonathan Schultz writes, hey man, I know that you just started up with music again, and I've been wondering how's that been going. It goes great, thank you. Music helps me get through my day every single day. Hope you're well, and how much your content means to so many. Bring on the filthy. Oh, thank you so much for that, Jonathan. Yeah, you guys, you can't see it right now. Let me see if I can bring it up so you can take a peek at this. Let me go to, for those of you who haven't seen this picture, let me go here and see if I can bring up this picture for you. So here it is. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on screen. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Where is it? There it is. So this is actually the computer I'm on right now. This is the computer I'm literally sitting in front of right now. But as you can see, I've got a new keyboard. I've got my guitar out. And I set up this computer that I'm sitting at home as a music workstation. Because I decided it's been too long since I've really gotten more into my music. And I really like my music. And here's my guitar. I have had this guitar since before I moved to LA. Since before I moved here. Oh, it's a little out of tune. Yeah, the B's on it. Anyway, I'll tune this up later. But I've had this since before I moved to LA. And I just don't play it enough. You know, I just don't pull it out and play it enough. And I decided that I wanted to get more into writing and creating music and stuff like that. Not because I'm going to be putting out any albums or anything like that, but just because it's very, it's relaxing for me. It's therapeutic for me. It's just very, very few things just help me relax and just, take my mind off work. There's only two things that really do that. Poker, which is why I play a lot of poker, and music. Now, these are the things that just help me take my mind off work and just relax and enjoy myself. And yeah, so it's going great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a really, really good time doing it. Thank you for asking, man. I appreciate that. Okay. And by the way, Jonathan also sent in like a $20 super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, Ketchup on Eggs writes, "You demand, John." Well, thank you so much, Ketchup on Eggs. I appreciate that, even though I hate ketchup on eggs. All right. Roy L writes, "The people complaining about Mario's voice are like the people who complain about who is the new Batman. Super Mario movie over 100 million opening weekend." I don't know. Listen, I understand because Mario has been around. Listen, almost all of us watching this have grown up with Mario, right? We've grown up with Mario. So a lot of us have an idea in our head about how Mario should sound, right? And then when we hear it and it doesn't line up with how we hear it in our head, we complain. I get it. I don't mind that either, as long as we keep in mind that we haven't heard anything in context yet, that we've actually got to see it, and all that. As long as we keep that in mind, I think it's fair to complain about it if it doesn't line up for how you kind of thought it should be. But I'll tell you what, I thought his voice in the new trailer, it worked better for me in the new trailer. Like, yeah, I didn't like the 8 words he said in that first teaser, but you know what? When I was watching the new trailer, and I think the new trailer is fantastic, and I watched it, I thought, okay, you know what? Now that I'm seeing it a little bit more in context, it's working. Now that I get that they're going for the New Yorker kind of a little bit of an accent in there, it's working for me a lot more. So, yeah. I don't know if it makes 100 million opening weekend. I hope it does. But I think it's going to be a success. I think a lot of people are going to want to go check this out. At least I hope they do. Okay, let's keep moving on here. Next up, that was Roy. Thank you, Roy. Next up, My Comic Planet writes, Zoe Saldana said, "For the last 10 years of my life, I've been stuck doing these franchises, not able to grow. Do these actors not realize the positive things from being in these comic book franchises?" Well, here's the thing, My Comic Planet. That is also one isolated comment, right? Without context. Zoe Saldana has spoken a lot over the years about how much she is grateful that she's being able to be in these movies, how much fun she has making these movies, the fact that she loves the people she makes these movies with, and all that kind of stuff. So if that was the only thing she ever said about playing Gamora, then yeah, I think I'd go, that seems a little ungrateful. Like, don't you know that not the only reason, Zoe Saldana was a name before she played Gamora, just not as big of a name. But the fact of the matter is, you got to take that comment in context with all the other things she has said about how much she appreciates being in these movies, how much she enjoys these movies, all that kind of stuff. But that can be true. And it can also be true that as far as her acting growth goes, that maybe it's been a little stunting, that it's taken up a lot of her professional time and effort to just do it. So it can both be true at the same time. It's like saying, I love ice cream. Oh my God, I love ice cream. Ice cream is so great. Ice cream is wonderful. It makes me happy and all this kind of stuff. Now you can say that, and that's true. And then later you can say, man, ice cream is really unhealthy for me and it makes me fat. Well, that is also true. Both can be true at the same time. So again, if Zoe Saldana has never talked about how great she thinks her Marvel movies are and how much she's enjoyed playing the role of Gamora, if she never said all that and you just had that one comment taken out of context, it can be perceived very negatively, of course. But I think when you take it in context of everything else she's always said about her time in Marvel, I think you can see that both are true. That she can both love and appreciate the fact that she's been able to be a part of this, but at the same time recognize that it may have held her back from growing a bit as a performer. I think both are true, so I personally, coming from her, I don't take it badly because we've heard all the other things she said about it. All right. Let's see. Next up. Thanks, Mike on Planet. Harold Diaz writes, what's your opinion on Drake's music, and do you have a favorite song by him? Well, listen, Drake is a good Canadian kid. I think he was just named like Artist of the Decade or all that kind of stuff. I personally like a lot of Drake's music. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a walking encyclopedia of all his stuff, but I mean, on my playlist that pops up at least once, let's be honest, 2 or 3 times every week. Because on my YouTube music, I've got my favorites list and it plays through the cycle when I'm driving to work. But the one he did with DJ Khaled, what's the actual, I don't know the actual name of the song. You know, it starts off with a go on and on, can't understand how it lasts so long. You know, that one that does with DJ Khaled. I don't actually know the title of the song, but I listen to it like 3 times a week. But honestly, my favorite song by Drake, and maybe a part of this is because the entire music video takes place showing off Toronto, because I lived in Toronto for a number of years. I'm a Hamilton boy that's like just 45 minutes outside of Toronto. And it started from the bottom. I love that song. The music, the beats in it are incredible. I love it. The fact that the whole music, the whole music video is based on Toronto and all that kind of stuff. So and I love that he's such a big Toronto Raptors supporter as well. But yeah, I would say Start From the Bottom is my favorite Drake song. All right. Next up, Fangblaze71 writes, do you think we will see any Star Wars show set in the sequel trilogy soon? How long do you think they will wait to go there again? I don't think they will. It's the same reason why I don't think they're going to do anything in the prequel era either, all that much. I think they recognize that, listen, the sequel trilogy era, the era of the First Order and all that kind of stuff, you know what? You had some big successes in there, but some big failures in there as well. I honestly don't think they will. I don't know that they won't. I'm not saying I have any information that says whether they will. I don't. This is just me speculating as a fan. So what do I know? My guess is they won't do any shows in the sequel trilogy era. That's my guess. So whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. Again, I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I'm just speculating. All right. Last question before we take a little short break here. Justin Lee writes, do you still keep up with your intervention friends? Unfortunately, no, I don't. Like one of the guys, it was a good friend of mine. His name's Cameron, and he was actually my boss's dad. Like the first law firm I ever worked in. Like the name of the law firm was my boss's name, Law. So let's pretend his name was Smith. It was called Smith Law. Smith wasn't really his last name, by the way. It was called Smith Law. And that was the first law firm I ever got to work in. And I was his law clerk. I was mostly drafting. Most of my job was doing legal title research for real estate transactions and for drafting wills for clients, writing, that basic kind of stuff. I'd meet with clients, things like that. Not a lot, but anyway, that was my first law firm. And his son, he and I became buddies. and is a really, really good guy. And, but I have, I haven't kept up with, there's only a very, very few number of people that I've kept up with on a really, really regular basis since moving to LA, which was like 14 years ago. So unfortunately, Cam is one of the guys I just never kept up with. Like, he still follows me on social media, and once in a while, he'll drop a like or a comment on one of my posts, and I'll drop a like or one of the comment on one of his posts or stuff like that. But honestly, I haven't really kept up, unfortunately. That just happens when, distance and years and time and all that kind of stuff, unfortunately. All right. With that down, we are going to take a quick break here, guys, because my drink runneth empty. I need to refill my drink. I need to just give my voice just a minute or so to rest up for a second. So give me like 2 or 3 minutes here, guys. Don't go anywhere. Now's your chance to run, use the bathroom, grab yourself something to eat, talk amongst yourselves, but don't go anywhere, guys, because we will be right back. guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I took a second there to get my drink all refilled, rest up my voice. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I also went and I tuned up my guitar a little bit. Got my guitar tuned up. I don't know if you guys can even hear it though, because she's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, and America too. She's a good girl. How about Elvis? Anyway, I'm not going to submit you to that, but I love a newly tuned guitar. I love how a good tuned guitar sounds. Anyway, thank you for that. Anyway, let's keep going here. Thanks for indulging me. I just brought up the Free Fallen. I just pulled that up right there. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. I should have had that lined up there so you could see that better. All right, let's keep going here with the show, shall we? Next up, we are getting back into the questions, and we are going to start off here with, I think we left off with Justin Lee. I think that was the last one we did. So now we will go to Parker. And Parker writes, please see The Woman King. It's on digital. I have seen Woman King. I was late to the party. It was fantastic. Viola Davis was incredible. There's going to be some Oscar buzz for it, no doubt. And I was late to it, but I did finally get around to seeing it, and it was quite good. Thank you for that. All right. Next up. Let's see. Where are we? That was Parker. Dylan Payton writes, hey there, John. Have you gotten a chance to see Marcel the Shell with Shoes yet? One of my top 3 favorite films of the year. I haven't. I just never got around to it. I heard it was really charming and lovely and delightful, but I never did have a chance to see it, unfortunately, because what happens is I get behind on some things and then it's just too late for me to watch it. And so because other things, newer things are coming out for me to see. So I never did get around to seeing it, but I've heard Chris Carr loves that movie. I've heard nothing but delightful things about it. All right. Evan writes, Bob Iger is going to hold an even bigger L than Chapek. That's an idiotic thing to say. I'm not saying you're an idiot. Listen, you can be the most smartest person in the world. We all say idiotic things sometimes. I do, you do, everybody does. That is an idiotic thing to say, but I'll just leave it at that. All right. Jay Watt writes, if Kevin Feige died suddenly tomorrow, who would, in your mind, take his place? Probably one of his 2 main lieutenants. He's got 2 main lieutenants over there right now. And why am I freezing on their names? One guy, one woman who's kind of the head of stuff. So one of them would take over for sure. All right, next up. Zaid Rothowski writes, hope I'm pronouncing that name right, writes, hey, John, greetings from Edmonton. I love Edmonton. I decided to binge Andor after it released, but I never once saw a spoiler online. This was very different from the other Star Wars shows. Why do you think that is? Thanks. Well, I think there's 2 big reasons why you didn't see like big splashy spoilers going around for Andor. One is because not as many people watched Andor as say watched Obi. No, Andor had good viewership. Don't get it wrong, but it paled in comparison to the viewership that Mandalorian or Obi-Wan, got. But the second big thing is that shows like Obi-Wan and like that, they're just kind of built on big spoiler moments, right? Like, listen, I talked to a lot of people who didn't really like the finale of Mandalorian until Luke showed up. Then everybody forgives everything else. As a matter of fact, I remember doing my weekly after show for Mandalorian, and there was a lot of people who didn't even really like the second season all that much. I did. I thought the second season was great, but I was constantly seeing everybody complaining about the second season Mandalorian, and then all of a sudden Luke shows up, and in some one kind of minor but really big cameo moment, and all of a sudden everybody forgot all their complaints about the rest of it, right? Andor is not built on those big splash moments. Andor is just, like I said, Andor is Star Wars for grown-ups. Andor is built on solid characters and narrative and all that kind of stuff, and there's not a lot of big spoiler moments, right? Like, other than he escapes from the prison. Okay. But like, because the show isn't built on gimmick. It isn't, not that Mandalorian is, I love Mandalorian. I do after shows for it. I love Mandalorian, but Andor is not a show that is built on gimmick. It's higher level thinking. And when you make shows like that, it's not nearly as reliant on spoilers or these big gimmicky moments that get out. And I think those are the two reasons why. That's just my guess at any rate. All right. Thanks for writing that in, man. Let's see here. Cosmix writes, any thoughts on Indy 5 trailer? Song gave me chills. I loved the Indy 5 trailer. I thought it was great. I mean, I saw, what's the word I'm looking for? Bootlegged. I saw a bootlegged version of it a while ago, but seeing it in full, beautiful version of it, it was great. I thought it was wonderful. All right. Mick Lebowski writes, what do you think about the recent trend of movies against rich/highbrow culture with movies like The Menu, Glass Onion, and Triangle of Sadness? Recent? Dude, that has been a staple of a lot of movies going back to the 1960s. There's always been that sort of thing. But listen, there's deeper stuff. Like the whole idea of The Menu, I think you're missing a part of what the messaging of The Menu was. I don't think a lot of the messaging, while on the surface, it can look as just against the affluent. It's not. It's really about bigger and cultural things. Glass Onion really wasn't about that either. I mean, our characters were in that position, yes, but that's not ultimately really what it was about. But the whole thematic idea about, I mean, just all you can even go back to things like, what was the name of the damn Eddie Murphy one? Trading Places. You just go back to Trading Places. I mean, their movies and the movie industry have used that as a theme, for decades, man. Like going back to when I was a child watching movies. So it's not a recent thing. It's not nor will it ever end being a thing. I think it'll always be, because listen, just like anything else in life, there are things that can bring with it problems, and having the elite rich, that leads to problems. And it's just like there are other things, not the only thing, obviously there are hundreds of them, but that's one of them. And movies have always had that theme. Again, you can go back. I wish Rob was here. We would sit there and go through a big encyclopedia of it, but yeah, they've always been around, man. And it always will continue to be, because it's a real issue. All right, next up. Big Mouth Stan writes, your opinion on Javier Bardem's performance in No Country for Old Men. In my opinion, one of the most intimidating antagonists in a film of all time. Well, listen, dude, there's a reason why he won the Academy Award for that role. He was incredible in it. And I mean, even the ending of it, when he goes back and finds the wife, I mean, come on. Yes, one of the most intimidating antagonists ever. It is a world-class performance. He won the Academy Award for it. He absolutely deserved to win the Academy Award for it. It's not on the same level as, say, Daniel Day-Lewis's There Will Be Blood, which I think is the greatest single performance in any movie in history. But it is a definite Hall of Fame performance. I mean, that is one of the best. It's absolutely terrific. I loved him in that. All right, next up. Beto writes, hey, John, what are your favorite film/TV composers? Everybody knows it's John Williams. He is the Bret the Hitman Hart of composing. He's the best there, when it comes to movie and entertainment composing. He's the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Dial Dar writes, saw Black Adam the other day, and it wasn't boring. The only thing I didn't like was some of the ADR and The Rock's head being on a slimmer body. I didn't ever notice that personally, and I had a lot of issues with the movie. I still liked it. Like, to me, in a thumbs up or thumbs down world, Black Adam is a thumbs up movie. I had a good time, but there are so many things that are so bad about this movie that they really, and hopefully moving forward, they will address that. Like, listen, you can be both a fun, entertaining movie and be a good movie at the same time. Let's do both, because those movies are special and those movies make money. And I think they will make improvements to the second one, but I still had a really good time with it. I did. All right. Christopher Cooper writes, sends like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Christopher, supporting us on that level, man. That's very generous of you, dude. Writes, never managed to catch the live shows normally. Just a quick thank you to you and the whole team for the daily dose of fun. Oh, thank you so much. You know, honestly, Christopher, that's one of the reasons why I like to do these shows on the weekend, because I know, listen, a lot of people can't watch the John Campea Show live because it's during work and school hours that we do the show. And a lot of you watch us at work. I know that, but still. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I like doing either some late night John Campea After Darks, or here on the weekend doing like an Ask Me Anything, because it gives people who normally watch the show afterwards, it gives them a chance to watch live and participate live. And I really like being able to do that. And I really have fun doing these shows on the weekends. So thank you for that, Christopher. Thank you for support, and thank you for being a member of our community, man. It means a lot to me. All right. Next up, Harold Diaz writes, would you rock a pair of Jordans? I've owned several pair of Jordans in my life. I haven't owned a pair of Jordans in a number of years. Actually, I haven't owned a pair of Jordans since I moved to the States. But I have owned several pairs of Jordans over the years. I don't have any right now. And I'll be honest with you, I am really cheap. I don't see the point in spending a lot of money in things I wrap around my feet. Now, I've got a couple of friends of mine that spend a lot of money on shoes. I got a couple of friends of mine that love collecting shoes. And they will be agog and aghast to hear me say that. But yeah, for me, I don't see why I'd spend a lot of money on something that I just stick my stinky foot in. Now, I have magnificent feet. Don't get me wrong. My feet are the things of legends. But I don't see the point. But that's just me. That's just me. That's like, if I go to a shoe, when I need a new pair of shoes, and I would buy like 2 pairs of shoes a year, sometimes not even that many. If I look at the price tag and it's over $50, I immediately look elsewhere. I'm pretty cheap about it. The only difference is sometimes if I'm out with Anne and she wants me to get a new pair of shoes, well, then I'll probably spend a little bit more. But yeah, like $50 is my, $50 is probably my limit for when it comes to buying shoes. Maybe 60 if I really like the shoes. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up. We've got Casinema Reviews who writes, Fathom Events is having a 40th anniversary screening of The Dark Crystal tonight. Nice, I didn't know about that. And Wednesday. Are you planning to go to one? RIP The Age of Resistance. Listen, everybody knows how much I love Dark Crystal. That movie is, to me, Dark Crystal's on the same level in my head as Wizard of Oz. It's just one of those super special movies that I grew up with. It's fantasy, myth storytelling at its highest. I love all the characters. I'll probably be too busy to get out to the theater to go see it again, but I love that they're doing that. I really, really am. I didn't realize it was the 40th anniversary. That's crazy. All right. Connor Stevens writes, have you seen the Christmas cult favorite Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus? No. It's like a dark fever dream version of Home Alone. It came out in 1989. I'll be honest with you, Connor, I've never even heard of it. I have never even heard of it. I never heard of that. Doesn't sound like something that might interest me, but thank you for putting that on the radar regardless, Connor. I appreciate that. All right. Next up, we've got Zaid Ruthowski who writes, West Side Story or Everything Everywhere All at Once, your number one movie from 2021 to 2022, West Side Story. Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once is still my favorite movie of this year. I love it. It's brilliant, all that kind of stuff. West End Story, though, better. And here's the thing. I spent a year pooping on that. It's like, who cares about an out-of-date musical? West Side Story. I don't care about street gangs walking around streets. I don't care. This is a bad idea. And Steven Spielberg is my favorite filmmaker of all time. And I'm like, I don't know why Steven's doing this. I'm like, who cares about West Side Story? And then I saw it and I'm like, oh my God. So I'd say my favorite movie the last 2 years is probably West Side Story. All due respect to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is my favorite movie for this year, but I give the nod to West Side Story. All right. Rafael Castillo writes, a vote for Troll. Very entertaining with good story that has enough humor and drama in the right amounts. The CGI, except for one tiny moment, is amazing. Yeah, I haven't been able to watch anything this week just because I've been out, but I am looking forward to watching that on Netflix. I thought the trailer looked like a lot of fun. I've got some pretty decent hopes for it. You're the first person to write in, Rafael, to tell me about it, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. I will look forward myself to checking it out too. Thanks for giving me your 2 cents on that, Raphael. Appreciate that very much. All right, next up. Dr. Bright writes, hey, John, how's your weekend, bro? Been a great weekend, thank you. Would you recommend a MacBook Air or Pro? I have an iPad Pro, but I need a normal computer. It all depends on what you're doing with it. I have both an iPad or an iMac Air or MacBook Air. I use it on the show, and I use it when I'm sitting in the backyard. I love my MacBook Air. I've got an M1 MacBook Air. Love it. Right now, what you are seeing me on right now is the heart of my home computer setup is a MacBook Pro. I have a M1 MacBook Pro with an M1 Max chip in it, and I'm able to do the show. I do video editing on it. I do a lot of photo editing. So it all depends on what you're doing. I would say for 9 out of 10 people, a MacBook Air is more than enough. I can do video editing on my MacBook Air and Photoshop and edit, all that kind of stuff, and it's a pleasure to use it for that. I would only say you need to go to a MacBook Pro if you are do a lot of video editing or a lot of music editing or something that requires a lot of heavy lifting with your computer. If that's the case, then I would recommend a MacBook Pro. But honestly, for 9 out of 10 people, I think the MacBook Air is perfectly good. It's a real pleasure of a machine to use. So I would recommend the MacBook Air. Again, unless you have a lot of video editing that you're doing. But even then, the MacBook Air is pretty good at his video editing as well. So I don't know. It all depends on what your needs are. But I think the MacBook Air is perfectly good. I love mine. All right. Pablo Zuenga writes, I've been looking into charity work this Christmas, already buying some stuff off the list. Great work. Now, for those of you who missed us talking about, for those of you who were not here at the very, very beginning, first of all, thank you, Pablo. For those of you who were not here at the beginning, we have, as of today, we're gonna officially start on the John Campea Show tomorrow, but you guys who are here now, we're letting you know this early. We are launching our Adopt a Family campaign that we did last year. You guys know what a huge difference you did for that family. If you guys saw the video, how much joy. Come on, who watched that video and didn't have a tear in their eye? Come on, guys, seriously. Well, we got another family now this year that we're going to make their Christmas. We are going to give them, we can't change the world for them, but you and I, we can give them one good day. And the link to the Amazon wish list is now up. We've got it at the top of the description of this video. You can see it. I want to encourage you guys, come through for us again this year, just like you did last year. Find some things on that list. Maybe it's one of the more expensive things. Maybe it's one of the cheaper things, whatever. Go buy things on the list because we want to make an incredible Christmas for this family. Thank you so much, Pablo, for already getting something off the list. And I just, this is my favorite time of year, guys. It really is. So thank you, Pablo, for already participating in that. And I want to encourage, and thank you for giving me an excuse for bringing it up again. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Daniel Vasquez, who writes, thoughts on the cartoon Brew controversy where they doxed Rebecca Sugars, the creator of Steven's Universe, personal information on the house she just bought. Never heard of any of this. Don't really follow. I've never watched a single episode of Steven's Universe, so I don't know anything about this. So unfortunately, Daniel, I can't give any opinion since I don't know who these people are. I don't watch that show. I don't know about this controversy. I don't know about any of this. I don't even know what Cartoon Brew is. So unfortunately, I wish I could give you my thoughts on it since you wrote in and asked about it, but I unfortunately don't know anything about this. But I mean, that sounds awful. Was it done on purpose or was it an accident? I mean, I don't know, but it sounds terrible. I'm going to have to look into this myself. All right. Next up, Sam Shughart writes, hey, John, which of you personally enjoyed more, X-Men 97 or Batman the Animated Series? Two different shows, but if stuck on an island, what's your pick? Ooh, that's a good one. Because I like both of those shows a lot. I'm going to have to say the Batman animated series. I love that X-Men animated series as well, but some of it doesn't age well. Whereas the Batman animated series, that holds up today. Like you can watch that for the first time today and it just works great. So I'm going to say, while I love the X-Men 97 series, I love it. This one to me, the Batman animated series I'm going to go with. All right, but I don't think there's a wrong answer to that. All right, Fangblaze71 writes, Kevin Feige walks into your room with a copy of Guardians 3 and Shang-Chi 2, but you can only watch one. Which do you pick? Shang-Chi 2. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I know I'm going to get to watch both of them. We've now had 3 Guardians of the Galaxy things. We've had Guardians 1, Guardians 2, and Guardians the Holiday Special, which, holy shit, I had no desire. I did not care about that at all. And now that I watched it, it's like my favorite Christmas special of all time. So I've gotten 3 Guardians of the Galaxy things. I've only had 1 Shang-Chi thing. So yeah, if Kevin Feige walked into the room, said, you can read Guardians 3 script or the Shang-Chi 2 script, I'm reading the Shang-Chi 2. Because I'm more comfortable that I know what I'm getting with Guardians. Like I know it's going to be excellent. I trust James Gunn. I know it's going to be great. I've had 3 Guardians things. I kind of already know what I'm going to get. It's going to be great. With Shang-Chi 2, I've only had 1 thing, so I'm going to go with the Shang-Chi 2 script. Good question, though, Fangblaze. All right. Next up, Jamal B. Castro writes, Hey, John, have you seen Paul Rudd's early 2000s Hong Kong action movie Gen Y Cops, a.k.a. Metal Mayhem? If so, what do you think? No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I've never even heard of it. But now I'm interested. This was not a Hollywood film, right? Like this was not something that was actually released in Hollywood about this, right? Like they didn't do that, right? I mean, I don't recall this ever being in theaters around here. So I don't know anything about Jamal, but now it's on my radar. Thanks for letting me know about it. All right. Jay King writes, like you, John, my favorite film of the year is still Everything Everywhere. Phenomenal movie. Did you think it has a serious shot at Best Picture? No. I don't think it has a serious shot at Best Picture, but I do believe it has a serious shot at being nominated for Best Picture, which would be a huge win for A24 if it does. But it's not just a quirky gimmick movie. It's quality writing. It's excellent performances. It's got true moments of laugh out loud, true moments of excitement, and true moments of emotion. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. I don't expect it's going to win Best Picture this year, but I do really hope it does get nominated for Best Picture. I expect it will be nominated for Best Picture. All right. David XP writes, as a guy who works only at home, thank God for shows like yours to feel like we're working with the company of friends and a water cooler XD. Well, thank you. Listen, honestly, Dave, one of the ways I try to structure the John Campea Show, and this goes all the way back to AMC Movie News and AMC Movie Talk and Collider Movie Talk and all the stuff that I've done. And one of the reasons why I like doing the show live is because I know there's a number of like shows that I watch where I feel like I am joining in the conversation with everybody. And I've always wanted my show to be like that too. I want the show to feel like it's a conversation that's you are a part of, right? Because I know I like watching shows like that I feel like I'm a part of the conversation. Even though I'm not, but I like to feel like I'm part of the conversation. And when I'm watching some of those shows, I feel like I'm in the room with them. And so I get to enjoy those kind of shows. So I like to create a show like that too, where it feels like we're all having things. You know, I have had so many people, by the way, to all of you guys who were at Los Angeles Comic-Con who came up to, we must have been stopped 20, 30 times. Thank you to all of you who did and came up and said hi. But it's amazing how many times people come up and they'll introduce themselves, we'll say hi, we'll take a picture, whatever. And then they'll say, it is crazy, I've never met you, but I feel like I know you. And I totally know what you mean because I've met people that I have watched for years and your brain doesn't make that distinction, right? That some people you know from watching them on a screen, some people you know in real life. I think that's why I got emotional when Robin Williams died and when I got emotional that Carrie Fisher died. I didn't know either of them, but my brain doesn't realize that. To my brain, when Carrie Fisher died, all my brain knew was that somebody died that I have spent a ridiculous ridiculous number of hours of my life with. Even though she was only on a screen. And I was devastated and I got emotional when Carrie Fisher died. And so sometimes when I meet people that I've watched them on things for a long time, part of me feels like I already know them. And we get that a lot from people as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that very, very much. It means a lot to me, man. All right. John Iverson Adajar writes, thoughts on The Last of Us trailer, Love from the Philippines. Haven't seen it yet. Again, I've been very, very busy the last couple of days, traveling, driving, moving around, conventions, games, things like that. So I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I'm very, very excited about it. But salamat for sending that in from all the way from there. And kumusta ka, my friend? All right, next up. Mick Lebowski writes, thoughts on the trailer for the Babylon movie. There have been a couple of trailers for Babylon. So did they put out another one this week? I didn't know. I don't know if there's another one. If we're just talking about the trailers that have already come out, I think the movie looks really good. I'm hearing mixed things about it. The first reactions to the movie were not. Some of them were really good. Some of them weren't really good. So I don't know, but I think the trailers have been good. Next up, Samir writes, John, I must say, and by the way, Samir sent in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Samir, for supporting us on that level, man. Very much. Samir writes, John, I must say, I always side with Rob on physical media. However, I'm in the process of moving and it's a major pain in the ass packing 400 plus movies, but I am stubborn and won't change. LOL. Keep up the amazing work. Yeah, well, thank you for saying that in, Samir. And listen, I get it. I used to collect physical media too, many years ago. I stopped collecting physical media a long, long time ago. But listen, I understand it. I do. There are advantages to physical media. But, for me, and it all depends, mileage will vary for each of us, right? It'll depend on what's important to each of us. Like for me, the advantages of digital far outweigh the advantages of physical media, like by miles. To me, to somebody like Rob, the advantages of physical media outweigh the advantages of digital. But just to kind of sum up and highlight why I stopped being a collector of physical media. Number one, I don't have to store it anywhere. And listen, I get it. There are some people very proud of setting up 8 bookcases and filling them with DVDs that they probably never use. But I get it. There's a collection aspect. That's the thing about physical media. There's a collection aspect to it, right? People love collecting things, whether it's figures or comic books or coins or stamps or memorabilia or physical copy movies, right? There's a big collector aspect to that. And I get that. I'm not a big collector myself, so that doesn't really matter to me, but I understand that it means a lot to a lot of people. So I respect that. That makes a lot of sense. But for me, just physically having to store it, and it's just taking up a lot of space. Number 2, physical media always goes missing. Some people will always lie, say, no physical media ever goes missing. It goes missing all the time. I was just talking to Rob last week about the fact that he was talking about there are certain discs you can't find anymore and whatever. They go missing, they go losing, whatever. Discs get damaged, and they're incredibly limited. Like, if I had a disc of, say, let's say Mystery Men, right? Well, guess what? If I'm on a plane and flying home to Toronto and I got a 5-hour flight ahead of me, I can't watch that physical disc of Mystery Men. But you know what I can do? I've always got my full movie collection always at my fingertips. On this laptop, on my phone, on my tablet, on my friend's computer. Anywhere I am at any time, I can bring up one of the movies in my collection. Anytime. You can't do that with physical media. It's limited. It's geographically limited. If you're not in the room with that disc, you're fuck out of luck. Sorry, you're fuck out of luck. You can be visiting family somewhere else, say, oh, I really want to watch this movie I have on my disc. Too bad I can't because it's at home. But when I'm visiting the Campea Ranch up in Canada, I'm visiting my family, I just have to pop on, I can log into my account and play any movie in my collection at any time, anywhere, 24/7, no problems, no questions asked. But again, it all depends on what is important to you, right? And if the collection is more important to you, if the higher bit rate in the audio quality. I think 99 people out of 100 can't tell the difference, but if you are one of those people that you can, maybe that's more important to you. If those things have a higher priority to you, then physical media is 100% the way to go. If you're more like me, digital is 100% the way to go, but it is what it is. Fortunately, we don't have to choose. We have both. At least we do right now. Pretty soon, there's not going to be physical media, but right now you can do both. So you don't have to pick and choose whether you want to be a physical media person or a digital person. You can be both. There's no wrong answer. Although Rob will be the first one to tell you that it won't be that way forever. Physical media is dying. Rob will be the first one to tell you that. So you might want to start transferring stuff over and start building up your digital collection. All right. And hey, I hope your move went smoothly, Samir. I do. All right. Mexican Drug Lord writes, I'm not much of a sports guy, but as a Canadian who liked playing hockey in high school and had a dad, RIP, who was born in Toronto, I'm curious, how good are the Maple Leafs doing this year? They're doing pretty well. I mean, listen, we're still in the first part of the season, and teams are still finding their legs. Teams that look bad are going to end up being pretty good. Teams that look great, some will end up not being very good. I mean, it's too hard to tell right now, but I think they're playing an entertaining brand of hockey right now. They're not world beaters right now like I was kind of expecting them to be, but I think they're looking pretty good. And their records, they just lost in overtime the other night. But hey, an overtime loss still gets you a point, and I'm happy with that. All right, Raider John writes, when will the Salem's Lot movie be released? I don't know. They showed us a great preview for Salem's Lot at CinemaCon this year that all of us, like none of us had heard of the movie before. And then they showed it to us. And I think all of us, like me, Chris, Aaron, Rob, I think we're all like, that looks really good. Like we were all very excited about the way it looked and what we were seeing. But I've heard nothing about it since. Like not a damn thing about it since. So I don't know. Maybe you can look it up online. Like maybe the information's out there. I just haven't seen it. But off the top of my head, Raider, I just don't know. All I know is that the preview they showed us made it look really good. Whether the movie's good or not, we'll find out. All right. And when we'll find out, I'm not even 100% sure. All right. That was Raider John. Next up, CJ Rebirth writes, rewatch the AMC review of Furious 7. I gotta ask if you still think it's theoretically possible for that one car to fly and crash through 3 buildings. I watched a video. You guys might even know the one I'm talking about. That was made. That says, okay, no, that wouldn't happen. But theoretically, it's possible, even though in real life never would happen. But in theory, here's what would need to happen. And you guys probably know the video I'm talking about, where these scientists literally broke down the science of that scene of the car jumping from one thing to the other, and about how here's how that could, however unlikely, here's how that could work. And they broke it all down and all this kind of stuff. Again, in real world thing, they said, nah, it wouldn't happen. But while it's on the very edge of believability, in theory, there's a way that anyway, you guys probably know the video I'm talking about. Go and look it up. So there's that. All right. Next up. Steve Loves Horror writes, hey, John, I just started a playlist in place of Vlogmas. Happy Horror Days. How often do you think I should post on the playlist? I'm not. And by the way, Stevie just sent in like a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, man, for supporting that level. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what you mean. I started a playlist in place of Vlogmas called Happy Horror Days. I got to be honest with you, Stevie. I do not know what we're talking about. I don't know what Vlogmas is. A playlist can be anything. A playlist of what? And God, man, I'm so sorry. You wrote in like a great $20 super chat support. But I just have no idea what we're talking about. I'm sorry about that, man. I'm really, really sorry about it. I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but I just don't know what you're talking about, unfortunately. But hey, man, listen, thank you for watching and thank you for writing in and supporting anyway. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't know what we're talking about, unfortunately. All right. Coley Woley writes, howdy, sir. Happy holidays from Tennessee. I've got some friends living in Tennessee. I actually want to go out and visit Tennessee I got some friends living in the Nashville area that I want to go out and visit sometime. One of my New Year's resolutions is going to be at least once getting out to Nashville this year to visit some friends. Thank you for that, Coley. All right, Darth Raider writes, have you ever tapped out on a show/movie and later went back to it and absolutely loved it? Yes, there was a show, Legion. Legion was such a show. Ann and I were really looking forward to Legion. And we watched like the first 2 episodes, and I still don't think the first 2 episodes were very good. And we watched the first 2 episodes, I'm like, tapping out, no more, no mas, done. I don't want to watch this anymore. And it was sometime after that I had a bunch of people writing in saying, you know what, John, this show gets really good. You should go back to it. And I'm like, nah. And then Schnepp told me, he said, John, you know, this show gets really, really good. I'm like, nah. But then, you know, I had so many people telling me that it was getting really good that I decided to go back to it and try it again. And I'm really glad I did. Now, I didn't like Legion season 2. I tapped out on that show again because I didn't think the second season was very good. But I did go back to season 1 of Legion. I ended up really liking season 1 a lot. So yes, that is one time I can think of off the top of my head, Darth Raider, where that did happen to me. This is a good question, man. Thanks for asking. All right. Next one. Underkelly just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Underkelly. Appreciate that very much. Everything Entertainment writes, I've seen a number of 360-degree film shots being made for VR. Do you think that could ever become a legitimate filming method for movies? Not really. I mean, look, anything's possible, and as new technology evolves and we can incorporate different things into something like that, maybe. But no, I think it's a really cool gimmick that you might be able to work into something here and there, but like as a prominent method, I don't think so. I remember back in my AMC and Collider days, I had an executive tell me that within 3 years, people are going to be watching movies in VR headsets in virtual movie theaters from home. Well, 3 years was 5 years ago. And obviously that never happened. I don't think this is something that will become a real thing, but maybe something that can be used as a tool here and there, but like making movies in that method, I'm going to guess no. At least I'm just guessing. I'm guessing no. Good question, everything. Appreciate that, man. Next up, CJA sends in like a $28 super chat from Canada. Thank you, CJA, for supporting me on that level. And CJA writes, it was recently my birthday. Happy belated birthday to you, my friend. And I realized I've been a fan of yours for 10 plus years. Man, I've been watching for 1/3 of my life. Cheers to your success, and thanks for always providing the best experience on YouTube. Hashtag filthy forever. Man, you know what? I'll tell you what, CJ. I met somebody recently who told me they had been either reading, listening, or watching me from the earlier 2000s, from my movie blog days. For those of you who don't know, the movie blog was my first movie website. I just started as a hobby, as a fun little place to write about movies, and it kind of blew up. And it's what it caught AMC's attention. So AMC, when they decided they wanted to start an online thing, they contacted me and asked me if I would run it. And that's how it all came from a website I did called the Movie Blog. It was also it was at the Movie Blog that I made the world's very first ongoing regular movie related podcast. None had existed. As a matter of fact, they weren't even using the term podcast yet. But I started doing a regular audio show, now known as a podcast, on movies, and we were the world's first. We were the first ones to do it. And I had somebody who came up to me recently and said one of their first exposures to me on the Movie Blog was a video, because we did video on the site too, and nobody was doing video yet in the movie space. And they said, you guys did a video where it was you, Doug, and Darren sitting around in your living room talking about XX. I'm like, oh my God, that's a long ways back. And, you know, another really funny thing, I had somebody write to me recently Said, John, I don't know if you remember me, but I wrote in X year saying that, and I told you that my wife and I just had the birth of our daughter. And well, my daughter is now 12 years old. And I'm like, wow, we have been doing this for a while. We have been doing this for a while. But listen, man, that's amazing. The fact that you've been along on this journey with us and with me for the past 10 years, that is amazing. Thank you so much for that. It means the world to me. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to be a part of your entertainment journey that long, and it means a lot to me. And again, thank you for the support, and thank you for being here. It means a lot. Thanks for sending that in, CJ. All right. Next up, Noor Kambaj writes, hey, John, thoughts on when we might see MKMCU again? Again, guys, I've got to ask that you not write in acronyms. I do not know what MKMCU is. Sorry, I just don't know off the top of my head. Sorry about that, man. Ryan Greger sends in a super chat just to be supportive. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that, dude. Vince E writes, if you could pick any Marvel character for a movie that hasn't been done yet or planned, who would you want? Love the show. Thanks for all you do. And by the way, Vincent sent in like a $20 super chat. Thank you for that, Vince. You guys all know what I'm going to say. I mentioned a little bit earlier. Bishop. Now, of course, they haven't been able to do Bishop before because Bishop's tied in with the X-Men rights. Obviously, Bishop is an X-Man. But Bishop is a character I've been wanting a movie about or a series about for a very, very long time. Bishop, to me, is one of the most fascinating characters to come out of X-Men. I really fell in love with Bishop during the Age of Apocalypse storyline, which is my all-time favorite storyline in any comic book. But obviously, Bishop was a very central figure in all that. So, and man, you're going to need a powerhouse performance by somebody to carry that and to make that work. But yeah, I would say Bishop. I've always said Bishop. And now that X-Men rights are under the Marvel banner again, Vince, and now look, I know we're still going to be several years away because they haven't even had the first X-Men movie, right? And Bishop will probably not be like amongst the first things that gets made. But now that the X-Men are under Marvel again and they have the rights to those characters, I'm hoping and I'm believing that a Bishop project will be on the horizon somewhere, but that is the one character that they've never done. At least now again, Bishop has been a tiny little character in some things here and there, like a little appearance by, but they've never really done Bishop, and I've been dying to see Bishop. All right. Thanks for that, Vince. Next up, we got Jonathan Cahoon, who writes, after the release of the Christmas special and trailer, are you more looking forward to Guardians 3 or Ant-Man 3? Thanks. Listen, I love the Ant-Man movies. I didn't like the second one as much as I liked the first one. Like the first Ant-Man movie, amazing. I love that first Ant-Man movie. Absolutely love it. And I really liked the second one. I just didn't think the second one was as good as the first one, but I still really enjoyed it. But I got to go Guardians. And Guardians, for me, Guardians is a lot like Ant-Man in the sense that I loved, out of my mind, loved the first one. And I liked the second one. I just didn't like it nearly as much. So I really enjoy Guardians 2, but it's just like Ant-Man. Love the first one. Really like the second one, just not nearly as much. Like, I don't think Ant-Man 2 was as good as the first one. I don't think Guardians 2 was as good as the first one. So they're very similar, but I did like them. I just think I like Guardians a little bit more. Maybe it's because it's more characters or whatever, but the holiday special really pushed it home for me. But yeah, I would say as much as I'm looking forward to Ant-Man 3, and I am very much looking forward to Quantumania, hugely, I'd have to say I'm anticipating Guardians 3 just a little bit more. But I can't wait to watch both of them. All right. Let's see. Vader voice will live on writes, is Simu Liu the reason you went so hard on Quentin Tarantino? Oh, no, because remember, we talked about the Quentin Tarantino thing before Simu Liu made his comments. And listen, I didn't go all that hard on Quentin Tarantino. I love Quentin Tarantino. I said on the video that I love Quentin Tarantino. He's a master filmmaker. But you will say stupid things now and again. And by the way, I did not go nearly as hard on Quentin Tarantino as I went on James Cameron for his stupid comments, or as I went on Martin Scorsese for his comments about, comic book films aren't really cinema. Like, I went much harder on James Cameron and I love James Cameron, good Canadian kid James Cameron, but I went much harder on James Cameron. Even though I love him, I went much harder on Cameron and much harder on Martin Scorsese, and I'm a huge Scorsese fan, than I did on Quentin Tarantino. Like, way more. But for those of you who missed it, and by the way, Samuel L. Jackson came out and talked about Quentin Tarantino's comments, about how dumb Quentin Tarantino's comments were. But yeah, so Simu Liu, he went out, and Simu Liu, by the way, when he made his comments, he was like, hey, Quentin Tarantino's a master. He straight up said, Quentin Tarantino is a master. He makes amazing cinema. He's fantastic. But what he just said is dumb as shit. And I agree with him. It was. But listen, we all say things that are dumb as shit. You say things that are dumb as shit. I will sometimes say things that are dumb as shit. Your best friends will sometimes say things that are dumb as shit. We all do from time to time. That's just the nature of it. And I love Quentin Tarantino. I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino. And he's brilliant. But what he said was dumb as shit. He shouldn't have said that. Or at least he should have said it a lot differently. And the fact that Samuel L. Jackson called it out, and the fact that Simu Liu called it out, I called Quentin Tarantino on what he said. It was dumb, but that doesn't prevent me from being a big fan of his. And it's certainly, I did not go hard on him. Like, I don't know what video you're watching where you say, you went so hard on Quentin Tarantino. I did not go hard on Quentin Tarantino. I said what he said was stupid. It was a dumb thing to say, but he's brilliant and he's a genius. And I love Quentin Tarantino. But yeah, I did not go hard on Quentin Tarantino by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly not as hard as I went on good Canadian kid James Cameron. Certainly not as hard as I went on Marty Scorsese or anything like that. Listen, we can be big fans of people and acknowledge when they say or do something stupid, but that doesn't stop us from being big fans. So no, I don't know what video you were watching, but I did not go hard on Quentin Tarantino. I was hard on the comment, sure, but if you go back and watch my video, you can watch, I go hard in the comment, but I make sure I stop to say, hey, by the way, I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan. I still am. I love his work. I love his movies. He's fantastic. But this one thing he said was pretty stupid. And it was pretty stupid, especially for him as a filmmaker, right? Especially for him as a filmmaker to say that. Now, you can bring up, and we talked about it. We talked about it on the exact same show that we brought up. Anthony Mackie, who of course plays Falcon, now Captain America in the MCU, made a very similar comment. But it's one thing for an actor who is actually the one who's in that movie and who is actually the person in that film to say something like, hey man, we get to have these great characters, blah, blah. It's one thing for somebody who is in that situation and is in the MCU and is an actor playing those characters to make an observation about themselves and whatever, versus some filmmaker who has nothing to do with it and just comes across as being bitter and spoiled and stuff like that. So blah, blah, blah. Like, that's just a bad thing to say. Like when James Cameron, it's one thing if James Cameron wants, or let's change that. It's one thing if James Gunn wants to say something about comic book movies because he's very active in comic book movies. He makes comic book movies. He does all that kind of stuff. So if James Gunn wants to make a critique about comic book movies, that's one thing. But then for James Cameron, who does not, a good Canadian kid, I love James Cameron, can't wait for Avatar 2. But it's another thing for James Cameron, who does not make those movies, who is not involved with those projects, to say stupid things, because that just comes across as being a bitter old man. Even though I know James Cameron's not, he just isn't. So it's a very, very different situation. And yeah, a lot of people, Samuel L. Jackson called him on it. Simu Liu called him on it. I called him on it. It was a dumb thing to say. He shouldn't have said it because it comes across like he's just jealous of things. And of course, look, he's Quentin Tarantino. He's a master, but it was just a dumb thing to say. It's not for him to say it. He shouldn't have said it. Anyway, that's just me. But even though he said it, it does not change at all that I love his movies and I think he's fantastic, and I cannot wait to see what his 10th movie is going to be. All right. With all that said, guys, that'll do it. That's all the questions that we had. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me here tonight. Oh my gosh, we've gone over 2 hours on this Ask Me Anything. Thank you for being here and supporting us. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chats. Number one, because it just gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so much for your support. But while you're here, guys, and while I still have you, one more time, I want to draw your attention. We're going to make a big deal about it tomorrow on the John Campea Show. But while you're here, I'm letting you know first. Now, we have launched now our Adopt a Family program. We have our Adopt a Family this year. What we did last year with the help of you guys to just change that family's Christmas, we gave them a great Christmas. It really changed their lives too. We're doing it again with another family this year. We talked about it off the top, so if you're just joining us or you weren't here at the beginning, go back and watch the beginning of the video. But the Amazon wish list, where you guys can help make this family that is in need this Christmas, really help them out. By the way, I didn't tell you their story. Can I take a minute and tell you the story of this family? I will tell the story again tomorrow, but here it is in a nutshell. Our adoptive family this year is a couple of parents who were working and all this kind of stuff, and then COVID hit, and both of them lost their jobs. And as a result of losing their job, they lost their home. They have 6 kids, ranging from the youngest is 8 years old, the oldest just turned 18. They have 6 children. And they lost their jobs as a result of COVID. They lost their home as a result of losing their jobs. They are now living in hotels, like really low-level hotels. Now, they both recently were able to get jobs again, but you guys know, particularly in California, a lot of jobs don't pay enough to actually live. And so they're trying their best right now to save up money so they can get a place to live and stuff like that. They're not able to provide a Christmas, like a meaningful Christmas for their kids and all that kind of stuff. And what we are going to do this year, you and us, what we are collectively going to do together this year is we are going to give them an amazing Christmas. And we are going to meet some of the needs that they have. And we're going to show them that there is kindness in the world. And we're going to do all that. And we are going to change them. We're going to overwhelm them this year. So what we need you guys to do is we need you to partner with us. Again, go down to the description. Right at the top, you're going to see the link to the Amazon wish list. Some things are more expensive because you guys told me last year to put some things that are more expensive on it. So I'm like, all right, that's what we'll do. So you can buy something as cheap as a pair of socks. You're going to see like soap on it, some shirts. If you want to spend a little bit more and help a little bit more, maybe $100 grocery gift card. We've got those down there. You can buy those off the Amazon wish list. Maybe a $25 Amazon card to help them buy other things that they're going to need. Maybe you guys want to be one of the people, you think, you know what? I got a little money right now. I've been very lucky in life. I'm going to buy this Nintendo Switch. We put a Nintendo Switch on there. If any of you guys want to buy that for these kids. We also put some tablets on there, like cheaper tablets, but good solid Samsung tablets. So these kids can have access to the internet and information, all that kind of stuff. They're like $100 and something. We got less expensive ones. Maybe you can buy one of those. Maybe buy some cheaper. Doesn't matter. Whatever you guys can do to contribute, we're going to make this family have an amazing Christmas and help them get back on their feet again. So go down, be generous, help out with that. And we're going to talk more about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the John Campea Show. We got a lot of stuff clearly we need to talk about tomorrow. Can't wait to see you guys there. That'll do it for now. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.